Our Dead Feb sale is happening right now. It's 20% off everything while supplies last because it's a dead time of year for us and we try to keep everyone in the shop busy, full-time hours. And so to help us do that, we discount the products so you get something for cheap. Valentine's is right around the corner. Even if you're single and dead inside, you might as well buy yourself something for Valentine's. Fits in with Dead Feb, so check them out below. I don't know what is in here. That is a heavy, oh, my mic's off. I said heavy roll of leather. That's crazy. Good Lord. That's another one of my favorite unboxings. Blood Bison unboxing. This is part of the Blood line of leathers. You remember Blood Core, Drifter 3s. This was an attempt to make a leather that really emphasized and highlighted the fact that it is an animal's flesh in about as morbid a way as you can imagine, which I like. I like things that go over the top. It's super extreme. Like, it's just, I like it. And apparently so did everyone else, because we sold so many of these drifters in Blood Core. It shocked me because I didn't know for sure. I was like, I want this. I think it'll look cool. Like it's pretty poppy when you first get it. Very bright red. But then once it really starts being worn and it starts darkening, starting to get those highlights and lowlights, you really start beating them up. You see like how cool these look. Like this is the side I really, really beat up. You can see just how like all that red pops through. It's so cool. And this is the pair that I tried to simulate more like long-term wear, where you're not beating them up, you're just brushing them every once in a while and just slowly letting that red pop through. And I think they turned out so good. And I just love the drifter boots. You know, it's my perfect like westerny boot. You got enough of a heel that you feel a little more western. It has a narrow enough toe box. It doesn't look like a pair of like Jim Greens that are super wide. You know, it still has a western-ish vibe while still being somewhat wide compared to like a typical like 55 last. And when we were developing this leather, we were basically developing 3 leathers at the same time because I wasn't sure what Seidel was going to be able to do and if any of them were even going to work out. And Blood Core ended up being the one I wanted to do first, and it worked out really well anyway. So that's when we launched first. But you might remember that we already unboxed some Blood Bison. This was probably last year sometime, or maybe in the year before, where this was like the first batch. You know, they sent us the Blood Core that was pretty close, you know, in the way it looked. It wasn't what we wanted or what I wanted in terms of how it functioned. You know, I really wanted you to have to earn this wear off. You know, because there's plenty of leathers out there that have already done a similar thing, like the Ghost leather that we've made some products out of. Truman uses a rub-off leather, Seidel. Solaver uses a rub-off leather. But what I was getting at, look how cool this looks. But the problem is this looks very similar to like cherry bison. It's like some people call it, like, or cherry red or whatever they call it. And I liked the concept of having like a heavy black on top with the red in between the cracks here. But the problem is this has the same issue as like the first runs of Blood Core. It just rubs off too easily. And it just looked too similar to, this is really, actually down here it looks really cool. Let me pull this over here. Look how sweet that looks. And it's just too similar to that cherry bison. And so we kind of put it on the back burner while we were working on Blood Core, while we were launching the Drifter 3s. And then as we got into Q4 and we were starting to look at like collaborations for next year, I was like, okay, let's start working on the Blood Bison again, because it would be the perfect leather for like so many projects. We could do so many projects with it. And so the concept next was like, okay, let's take what we learned from the Blood Core and apply it to the Blood Bison. So basically, as far as I know, because I haven't unboxed it yet, is we applied this top coat to a shrunken bison. And what that's gonna do is give you a really heavy top coat, because this was just tipped. And so what tipping is when they take basically like a brush and they just barely hit the top surface of it with some dye. And so that's how you end up with the valleys of these pebbles being red and the peaks being black. And I was like, I want it all the way into the cracks. I want to just like flood the top coat with some of this like black heavy coat we put in the Blood Core. And the Seidel's concern was like, well, it's gonna crack in the pebbles. Like the color's not gonna stay. Like what happens when you like bend this and like it cracks that top coat, and like that's what's gonna be cool. That's the coolest part. Is like it's gonna be like all black, and then as it gets lasted, it's gonna start cracking potentially in between the pebbles. It could look super cool, but I haven't unboxed it, so I don't even know if that's how it turned out. And but that's the goal. That's where we're headed, is to have like a heavy black coat that still makes it into the valleys of these pebbles. But because it's a shrunken bison, it's going to stretch, it's going to bend and fold. And so my hope is that the top of the pebbles, the peaks, will stay jet black until you start wearing them off and start scratching them and scraping them like this. And then in between, you might see a little bit of that pop of red just cracking through as you start wearing them, as they're lasted. And it could be like a really cool gradient on the boot, because the toe is the heaviest lasted part of the boot, or at least one of them, especially for like the bison leather. And it could easily start cracking more here and slowly fade to zero cracks because you don't last the quarters. So it could be a really, really unique and cool boot. And you can see even in this wallet that I've been wearing, like how much cooler it looks once you get some wear. And I artificially wore this, you know, I rubbed it on some pavement, you know, I just tried to simulate some wear so I could see what it actually looked like. But it looks freaking cool to me. This is all of our boot accessories that we've slowly developed over like the last 4 years as we've done more and more boot reviews and realized how many things are missing in the market. Because if you're watching this, there's a good chance you have a nice boot, and one of the funnest things to do with it is start to build it out, kit it out, customize it, make it your own as you're breaking it in. And that's what these kilties and boot pocket kits allow you to do. We got them in a bunch of different leathers, a lot of really popular boot leathers. They come in different sizes. You got the fringe, you got the no-shows, you got 6, 8, 10 inch, you got the boot pocket kit with 3 different pockets, different sizes. Sew it on the side of your boot, sew it on your jacket, sew it on anything. And we also just released these laces, but they sell out every time we get a restock. So if they are sold out, get on that limited edition email list. We'll announce when we have a restock of these. Even down to the Jim Green outsole we designed with Jim Green for the barefoot boots. You can buy them on our site. But the most surprising products of the year that really were shockingly successful was the boot breakers. You know, we launched this, it was 2 millimeters of foam and a high abrasion fabric just to help break your boots, because this hard veg tan is such a pain to break in for the first few weeks. Just having 2 millimeters of squish still allows you to break in that insole, still allows you to get the whole heritage feel, but it eases that painful break in until you're ready to pull them out, or you just leave them in for tons of comfort. And we just launched the 4 millimeter foam boot breaker if you want just a little extra squish, twice as thick as the original boot breaker. So now that you've bought probably a few high quality boots, customize them, protect them, make them a little bit more comfortable. That's what all these accessories do. So be sure to check out all these below. They make great gifts, self gifts, and it's a huge way that you can help support the channel. So check them out below. So that is the goal. Let's unbox this thing. Let's see what's what. I'm very excited. I also don't know why it's so heavy, because I know Bison's really heavy, but I don't really know why it's that heavy. What knife? My little Gerber. 15 bucks on Amazon, and I lose them so much because these stupid clips, they're not even fastened on. I'm like, Gerber, if you're gonna make like a cool little knife that's affordable, don't make it fail automatically if you bend this clip too much as you're putting it on your like belt loop or in your pocket. It's a terrible design, but I also love the design because it's cheap and it's really easy, replaceable blades. And I just wish Gerber would make this knife better, because it should be better. It's honestly a terrible design. It's a terrible, terrible design compared to like how much I use this and how much I like it. If the design was just slightly better, it would be like my perfect knife. So maybe we'll make one day. Not in the knife industry yet, but we're getting there, slowly but surely. Okay, let's do it. Blood Bison. Ooh. Yes, it's all black. That was my biggest concern. Yes, beautiful. Look how oily it is too. Why is it so heavy? I think it's just a heavy leather, because there's nothing in here besides the leather. Ooh, look at the core. Look at the core. Okay, let's unroll it. Then we'll do a little flex test. Oh, it's 2 hides, that's why it's so heavy. That is so cool. So pretty. Dang, look at that. Especially up in here, up near the shoulder. Oh my gosh, this turned out perfect. So right now, there's no obvious red on the outside, right? You don't see any red popping through, except for on the core. Now let's see what happens if we bend. Let's do a little bend test of the pebbling first, and we'll do a stretch test down the belly. Okay, no red popping through on the bend test. How about down here on the belly? Okay, that's good, because the goal is to, like, same thing as the blood core. You have to earn that red popping through. You can't just like rub it with a cloth and get it well, maybe we should test that. See if it just rubs off. I just assumed it wouldn't. Just take a little paper towel. Yeah, not much at all. Actually, I feel like this transfers less than the blood core. Nice. Okay, now let's try a little stretch on the belly. Nice. Okay, that was another one of my concerns. It was split too easily. That there's too much stretch in the Bison for it to fully crack everywhere. From the moment you wear it, because I wanted it to potentially crack when it's lasting, just see those little teeny hairline highlights of red. But I didn't want it to a point where it's like, it almost feels cheap because it's, every time you move it and crack it, it splits wide open. And so that's perfect. Because I think in the lasting process, it might split. But if it doesn't, that's even better. Because this concept will go, the cool thing about this is, you know, the little teeny cracks in between the pebbles are like a cool little attribute that could potentially happen with it. But the real value is in the highs and the lows of this leather, because in the high spots, that's when you're gonna start wearing through to the core, that bright red core, because this is essentially just the exact same tannage but on a shrunken bison, or at least it's the same process is where they dye it bright red all the way through first, then they put the top coat on, and I don't really know the full tannage. It might be a Latigo tannage done on a bison, but either way, I like the temper of it, I like the feel, I like the fact that it is a really, really strong top coat. I didn't know if they'd be able to do it on a bison, but clearly it almost works better, I feel like. Because, like I said, once you really start wearing these, you're gonna have really, really heavy contrast, because you're gonna have the high spots being worn down to more red. The low spots are gonna stay really, really black, except for in the very, very recesses of the crevice. You might get a little bit of red. So that is so cool. Now the question is, what do we do with it? You know, give me your guys' opinion on what collaboration you think we should do with this. Because it's not fully done yet. You know, we haven't tested it. We haven't made any boots out of it or shoes. So give us some recommendations on what you want to see made out of this. Because I want everything made out of it right now. And yeah, because we could, you know, there's so many things we could do with it. The thing that I really like about this concept is it's a constant reminder of what the material is, and it emphasizes it not in a way that you're hiding from it and like, ooh, I'm embarrassed, or I feel shame for wearing like animal's flesh around my feet. You can double down into it and make it cool by emphasizing it and making it more metal, more cool. Oh, actually, Heavy Metal Shop, shout out to Salt Lake, did not intentionally wear this for this video. But that's kind of how it is to me, and I'm hyped. So huge shout out to Seidel. Like these, you know, this is not a fun project. Like it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy and effort, and we're not ordering hundreds of thousands of square feet. You know, it's still fairly small batches, and that, you know, that's not the most lucrative way to run a tannery. And yet Seidel is still willing to go out on a limb, try some weird stuff, do some unique processes they've never tried before, or they're learning on the fly how to get this and the right combinations of I don't even know what it is, like ingredients in the tannery, that they get this to stick so well while still having like a matte finish, but you can still rub it off and they still have the bright red core. It's pretty crazy what Seidel's capable of when they have a crazy idea like this. And or when we give them a crazy idea like this, really. So very appreciative of Seidel and all your guys' support of the Blood Core, because that's what made Blood Bison especially possible, because we were able to make a whole batch of drifters out of it. We ordered a batch of wallet thickness leather and boot thickness leather to sell panels, to sell like all of our leather goods in that same leather, and to sell whole hides if people want. They're going to be pricey, you know, because we're not in the industry of selling hides, but we wanted to make some of them available to people that want to buy them and make some crafts out of them. But at the same time, it's like, this is a very exclusive leather, and you know, I want to keep it somewhat exclusive. I don't want you to have, I don't want people out there just selling it en masse and like devaluing all the effort that Seidel put into this, all the effort that we put into it. And so, yeah, we're gonna have the panels available. We're gonna have some of the products available in the Blood Core, and it's super cool to be able to like invent, in quotations, like a new style of leather. And yeah, it's cool. So thank you guys, shout out to Seidel, and be on the lookout for when this ends up in a collaboration at some point this year. And get on that limited edition email list so you don't miss out on a pair, because the drifters sold so much faster and so much more with the Blood Core than the previous years. I think we sold more of the Drifter 3s than we did of the 2 previous drifters combined. So this is a hot ticket, this stuff, and I think it's because it is unique, it's original, and no one's really ever done it this way. So be on the lookout for that. Get on that limited edition email list, and thank you guys again for all your support. See ya.